guys, and welcome to InCoWriMo 2020. For those of you guys that are brand new to snail mailing and pen paling, I wanted to say welcome, and hopefully today's video will provide you with some insight and a few tips and tricks to get you started on your snail mail adventure this year. Now, the first thing I want you to think about is your reasons why you're doing this. If you go on Instagram and look and see at all the cool snail mail and crafty swaps that people are doing, I know your FOMO kicks in and you really want to be a part of that. You really want to be able to kind of create or even see and hold a lot of these beautiful things that people are making online. But if you are going to be participating in this because your reason is that you really want to get stuff, I really want you to think about that and reconsider, okay? Change your mindset a little bit. When it comes to pen paling and snail mailing, you get out of it whatever you put into it. So keep in mind that whenever you are going to be setting up a swap with someone, you want to make sure that you give 110% and that you are really grateful and appreciative of what you get, no matter what you get. Because really, you don't want to be doing this just for the spirit of getting. You want to be doing it so that you're in the spirit of giving. Now, if you're just getting started, you probably are thinking, where the heck do I even find a pen pal? Well, there's a couple of places that you can do this. Some are a bit more reputable than others. I would start by looking to see if there is a pen pal or snail mail group active in your area. In a lot of larger cities, there are actually clubs devoted to snail mailing or even pen paling with partner cities where you can find someone really easily to send mail back and forth to, and you can also be part of a community where you can send letters to and from each other within that small community in your city. Now, maybe you are more of an introvert and you're not too sure just yet about interacting with real live people in person. I get it, I totally do. It can be a little bit intimidating, especially given the fact that not a lot of people send mail anymore, and so you might be a bit apprehensive about reaching out to someone to see if you can actually swap with them through the mail. So, there are a couple places online that I suggest that you look. The first one is going to be the Letter Writers Alliance. They do have a small fee to get set up, and this actually goes towards their operating costs, so they don't actually profit from this, but they're actually going to send you a little thank you gift to get you started, and they're going to match you with a pen pal or two. So that's going to be a really good place to get started if you want something that's very low maintenance and reliable, and you just want to rely on somebody to actually get you set up with that process. Another place that you can look is actually on social media. I would start with Facebook to see if there are any letter writer groups that you would be interested in. There are groups for everything these days, including snail mail, pen paling, and swaps. So join a couple of groups, spend a little bit of time there first to kind of get the vibe, kind of see if this is really the group for you, and then participate in one or two swaps or pen pal exchanges, and then just kind of make sure that this is actually something that you really want to do before you just dive right in and commit to several people all at once. Or you could even go on to Instagram. There are a couple of hashtags, and I will actually insert them here so you can see. But there's a couple of hashtags that you will want to look to see if people are actually looking for new pen pals. Now, if you do go this route, you want to make sure that you find someone that is reputable and consistent. There's a couple things that you can look for. What you want to do is go through their feed, and you want to see that they have a consistent amount of posts about sending mail. A lot of times you'll see Instagrammers who have accounts that'll show incoming mail, and what you want to look for is outgoing mail. So you can even search that hashtag as well. Now, once you've found someone that is both seeking new pen pals and you've kind of vetted to see that, oh yes, they are sending at a rate that I would really like, what you want to do is reach out to them and make sure that they are still interested in that, and you want to have a little bit of a chat first to see if you're actually compatible before you start writing. Now, I really advise this because a lot of times you'll start writing and you're not really sure where to start with someone new. And so having a bit of a chat online to kind of see what kind of common interests and hobbies you have can really get you moving in the right direction to forming a long-term conversation with them through writing. Okay, so now you've found a pen pal. You're ready to get started. There's a couple of things you want to set up with this pen pal before you actually put pen to paper. You both want to agree on a frequency and an amount of time that you prefer writing each other. Now, usually it's a back and forth type of thing, but this really is going to depend on you and your pen pal. So for me personally, I let my pen pals know that I cannot write more than once a month to them. Now, sometimes this ends up being a longer span because I write to them 1 month. Sometimes it takes it a while to get there. They respond in the next month, and then I respond in the next month. So it really just depends. As long as you're both communicating and you're both okay with the time frame that you set, then you'll be good to go. Just make sure that you honor that time frame. And if at any point you feel like you won't be able to honor that, let them know. They'll be more than understanding, and you can work out either an alternative plan, or you can let them know that you need to pause it for just a little while, sometimes due to finances or maybe a lack of time. Really, communication is key here. You want to make sure that you are very straightforward from the beginning. You don't want to set up unrealistic expectations for your pen pal and yourself. Now, for those of you guys doing crafty swaps, you're going to alter this just a little bit. You want to make sure that you and your swap partner agree on a mail by date. A lot of people confuse this with, this is the amount of time I have to complete the project. But no, this is actually the date that you need to have your project completed, wrapped, and taken to the post office and mailed by. You also want to make sure that you get a confirmation number or a tracking number for your package or your post. It would be really wise to agree with your swap partner to take a photo and swap those or send them to each other once you've actually posted your package. Now, sometimes things happen, things get lost in the mail. So agreeing to do this and actually following through is going to hold you accountable and your swap partner accountable. And it's also going to show, hey, I did go ahead and send this. Unfortunately, it got lost in the mail. So it actually just helps you on your end prove that you actually followed through with your end of the swap when things happen to be out of your control, like the postal system. So now that you've found your pen pal and you've agreed on the parameters of your swap or your mailing frequency, you actually want to start working on your project or get your letter written. But what you really want to pay attention to is if you and your swap partner have decided to exchange something crafty and there's a theme or there's specifications on what you need to include, make sure that you follow through with that and you actually include those things. And have fun for sure, get creative. Don't create something that is going to go beyond the parameters, though, of what you can mail and what you can afford to mail. So this actually transitions into the next tip. You want to make sure that you are very familiar with your postal rates, what will ship and what won't ship, items that are contraband, items that are going to actually cost you a little bit more to ship. You want to make sure that you are following the guidelines that your postal system has set, okay? So it's a really good idea before you start your swap or before you do your letter that you look into this so you have a really good idea of what you can and can't send according to your budget. Now, when it comes to letters, most letters are actually going to be more than fine with a forever US postage stamp or a US international forever postage stamp. So make sure that you stock up on a couple of those if you're just going to be exchanging letters. And you can actually send letters up to a certain amount of thickness. So keep in mind that you do need to double check on this for your postal system because it will vary. If you are looking to establish a long-term conversation with your pen pal, make sure that you are being sincere and that you are sitting down to write at a time where you actually find that you are in a good mindset to write things that are interesting and maybe even a little bit candid about yourself. Make sure that you ask some thought-provoking questions. It's your job, as well as your pen pals, in order to keep the conversation going. So don't just expect to write something without any interaction to your pen pal and then receive something back that's more than that, okay? So make sure that you are not only talking about yourself, giving them something interesting to read, but also engage. What do you want to know about your pen pal? Maybe limit it to 3 to 5 questions per letter, and that way they can answer those and then also continue the conversation that you guys had already started. A lot of times, your letters will go off on tangents related to the questions that you've asked, and this is the best part of pen paling. Yes, sometimes conversations get left behind, but what's really great about this is that it shows there's more investment, you guys are having a really great conversation, and you've got a lot of common interests going on. So that is something that you really want to look for. So the last thing that we're going to talk about is some of the pitfalls that you might experience, and maybe sometimes a few negative things I just want you to be mindful of. Whenever you start a relationship with someone or you decide to do a swap with someone, you have to keep in mind that this person may not have the same financial means or allotment of time to spend. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not giving 110%, but it may mean that you receive something that's not exactly to your taste, or it doesn't exactly match your effort level of what you're sending them. It doesn't matter whether they have 10 minutes or an hour to spend. They may have still given 110%, but you may feel like it's not equal to what you're sending. At this point, I want you to go back to the very first part of this video and remember, this is about your mindset. Are you, decorating a letter and sending something out that's several pages, and what you're getting back is a very thoughtful response of just pen on paper? If that seems boring to you, pen paling is not for you. It's very possible they don't have the stickers or the art supplies or even the time to go into that, but they did sit down and read your letter and reply to it sincerely and thoughtfully. That right there is gold when it comes to a pen pal. So I want you to consider, what is it that you're looking for here? If you are looking for certain supplies being used, there are lots of groups out there that do themed swaps that require swap partners to use specific supplies or even specific collections or companies to produce their crafts or their letters. All right, let's talk about the second type of pitfall that you might encounter. This is a lack of commitment on yours or your pen pal's part. Sometimes you will send out a letter and maybe it's your first letter and you don't get a reply. Or maybe you have both been writing consistently for an amount of time and your pen pal stops writing. It's very possible that something has happened that's not allowed them to reply. It's not your job really to wonder what has happened, but I want you to go back to that mindset and think about, what is it that you're wanting from this? If it's someone who is at the beginning of your pen pal relationship, then I want you to consider letting it go. Move on. Maybe wait for a letter in return before you continue to respond to them. Or you can send them something short and sweet on a postcard letting them know you're still interested in writing with them, but you hope that they're doing well and that you hear from them soon. Make sure that you extend a little bit of grace towards them. Now, when it comes to someone who you've been conversing with long term, usually you have alternate ways of contacting them, so I would recommend reaching out to them either on social media or by text or phone, just to check in on them to make sure they're okay. At this point, you might want to discuss maybe reformulating your original agreement, reducing the frequency, or again, taking a break for a little while they recover from whatever it is they're going through. Life happens. It happens to you, it happens to me, and sometimes we just don't get to put out mail as much as we would like. This past December, I didn't get to send out any Christmas cards, and I really wanted to. I did send some out to my crafty group, but none of my friends and family or pen pals received any Christmas cards. I had too many things happening all at the same time that month, and I just wasn't able to do it. However, in February, everyone will receive a letter. I'll give them an update on what's happening and explain what happened in December. Because we have a really good long-standing pen pal relationship, they'll understand and they'll reply and keep things going. Now, the last pitfall is something that you want to look out for from the very beginning. If you are an established pen paler or you're new, but you have intentions of creating long-term relationships with someone, you want to really look out to see who you're swapping with or who you're going to be establishing that long-term pen pal relationship with. The person that you're swapping with, are they out just to get cool stuff, or do they have the same intentions and mind frame that you do? if you discover that they are someone that is just out for the getting, it is okay to go ahead and terminate that relationship. How do you break up with a pen pal? Well, it's very possible that you met this person on social media, you don't really know them in real life, so it might be worth sending them a little message and letting them know at this time you're just not able to continue the relationship, you wish them well, and maybe in the future, once you have more time or more financial resources, you can restart that relationship. You don't have to be ugly, you don't have to be mean to them, just let them know that you're not able to continue at this time. Story time. I actually had someone reach out to me at one point to be a pen pal, and I was really excited about this because I did do my research and I did see that she had sent a couple of things. There were a few little red flags here and there, but she seemed to be getting back on track for wanting to send long-term pen pal letters, and I was more than happy to work on that with her. So I sent her a letter. It was decorated fairly well, and I did actually send a long letter kind of introducing myself, asking her some questions. It took her a while to respond, but she did, with something that was also decorated, but she didn't actually interact or engage and answer any of the questions that I asked or address any of the things that I had written about, and she kept her letter pretty simple, talking about the weather, talking about the fact that she had been at work, and it was only about a page or two. So sometimes this happens in the beginning and someone isn't really quite sure what to write, so I just went with it. So I then replied and asked her more about what she had written about, and again continued with letting her know what I was doing and asking her some questions. Her next exchange again didn't really interact with me or engage with any of the things that I was talking about. It very much followed up the same format that she had in her first letter. I think what had happened is she had taken on too many pen pals in the hopes of getting things, and then she had forgotten who she had written to and what conversation she had started, and so she wasn't really able to engage because she had too many people that she was interacting with. She eventually said that she wasn't able to fulfill the commitment financially, and at that point, we terminated our pen pal relationship. I have seen that she's later gone back and asked for more pen pals, and I wish her luck, but I do want to let you guys know that you should always proceed with caution when you see something like this. Unfortunately, people get in this cycle again. They want cool stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, but again, it's all about that you get out of it whatever you put in. So the very last pitfall is actually from the story that I just told you, and it is don't overcommit. Start out slow, especially if you're a beginner, especially if you're going to be doing swaps. I wouldn't recommend taking on more than one swap a month to begin, because remember, you need time to not only sit down and create whatever you're swapping, but you have to package it, and you have to make time to take it to the post office. So make sure that you're able to get in a good rhythm and do one swap a month before you start to take on additional swaps. When it comes to pen pals, I wouldn't recommend going more than 2 to start. Establish that long-term relationship, and then once you feel like you're on a solid footing with them and things are going well, start to add in more as you go. Or I would recommend starting with friends and family first. See if there's 1 or 2 people that you actually know in real life that be interested in swapping letters or cards with you occasionally, and really see if this is something that you even like. Find out first if you actually enjoy doing it and you can actually follow through with the commitment before you involve a stranger. If you're enjoying the content this month, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll be putting out all types of videos related to snail mail and pen paling, and there will be cats. There will be lots and lots of cats. So I hope you guys will come back, and I hope this helps you get started in your pen pal journey. Happy writing, and I'll see you in the next video.